Hello everybody, welcome back to the home build. Today we're going to be talking about miscellaneous pickup work here on the home build. So got several items of what I want to take care of or have taken care of before insulation and sheetrock. So some of the number one things is trying to eliminate all the air leaks that are happening. So I don't want air coming into the house that I don't want to, because that air is going to bring in moisture and condensation and that sort of thing. So I need to seal it all up. The insulation subcontractors, that's their areas where they're not going to take care of. So, or in my 23 years of doing this, is not adequate enough. So some of the areas that I take care of is the air sealing, such as this on this electrical box. It's closed cell foam, spray foam, where the wire comes in, the penetrations going all around, sealing that up. A lot of older homes that I've remodeled and done work on, you put your hand to an outlet, and such as like an outlet like this, you can feel a draft coming through it. Okay, that's when that draft, it's going to be bringing in that condensation, that air. You got to be heating and cooling that air. That's costs more money. So if it was one outlet, a little hole, maybe not such a big deal. But when you have 40 or 50 different spots, that hole starts adding up and growing, and all of a sudden you got a window that's open all the time if you add it all up. So doing the best that I can do with closed cell foam, and a reason for closed cell is it eliminates that air from coming in, is sealing up as much as possible, even on the inside. This is pointed towards the inside, sealing that all up. Down on the bottom where the sheathing meets the bottom plate, I got spray foam all around for that. So that's taken care of. I got lots of light fixtures going to the outside or junction boxes, sealed up. Another important spot is sealing up between the floors. So right where the wire's coming through, sealing up behind where the wires go into the outlet boxes and that sort of thing. So all around the house, I got that perimeter bottom plate taken care of. Any outlets going to the outside, doorbells, light fixtures, all that sort of thing is all taken care of. So as you can see, I got an outlet there. On the front door, it's sealed up at the top. I can actually see some light coming through. You might not be able to in this light. So there's a spot that I'm gonna have to take care of, but making sure it's all air sealed. So that's important. So I'm up here on the second floor, and we'll start right here. Air sealing around all these conduits going up into the attic. Making sure you're using closed cell foam, not an open cell. So that seals it up for air, and then it's gonna have, you know, insulation, R50 up in the attic. But if that's not sealed up, it's not a true R50 if that air can get through. So make sure you're sealing it there, sealing it in between the floors. And I even went to that extra step of sealing all of the penetrations going sideways through the studs. It just a little bit extra and that sort of thing, taking care of that. Over here in this other room, I got some sleeves going through from one attic to the other where I can run power for solar panels, that sort of thing, back to the meter, but it's all sealed. So this is the attic of the first floor on that half of the house. I still have it all sealed up. The ductwork that's coming in through right up in here is going to be a miscellaneous pickup work that I got to take care of. Add a stud here, which the framers should be due, but they don't do it, or it delays. If I wait for them to do one stud, probably delays the project another week or whatever. So got to add a stud right here. But for the ductwork, what I did do is I air sealed right in here. By code, I need to have sheetrock on the top, so that fire can't get down here and into the first floor, into the lower floor. So I gotta have to have sheetrock up in here, and then the insulation, the 18 inches or so of blowing in insulation can have something to rest on. They're not going to fill that whole cavity full of insulation. If I don't put that on there, what I'm envisioning probably going to happen is they'll throw in all that insulation up in there, and eventually it's all going to start falling down, and then it'll be an open hole directly from the attic to there. So that's some pickup work that needs to get taken care of. So another pickup work that I've been taking care of is on the windows. So I'm trying to eliminate that air from coming in. So I'm going ahead and caulking this here. There's spray foam behind it. That was all cleaned out. And if you don't have spray foam, you should be using something like backer rod, stuff in there, but it has to have something in there, okay? Unless it's an 1/8 inch or smaller gap. So ideally though, you got that space for expansion and contraction. You gotta clean it really, really good with denatured alcohol. Make sure all the dirt, grime, grease, oils, even these new windows are gonna have factory oils on it. Clean that off so you can do a good caulk job. I did a pre-flash, you might have seen this in a previous video, a pre-flash on my windows, and now I'm sealing it from here to here. They did use closed cell foam when they installed the windows, but there's spots that are missed. So this is where I take care of any of those type of things. And doing a good job of caulking, making sure there's no pinholes, no bumps, no that sort of thing. Because the next step is after they do sheetrock, then I'll caulk that as well. This is an area that's usually not done, and air is coming in at those locations. So windows are an area where it usually is leaking, molding, that sort of thing. So I can't emphasize it enough. When air is coming in, it's also bringing in that moisture, and then you're going to have mold and rot and that sort of thing. So let me show you an area that needs to get fixed. So areas like this. So here's a caulk job that somebody did. There's a little pinhole right there, so that's got to get a little more there. This is another area right here. Hopefully you can see that. It's got to get fixed. And then down here on the bottom where the window, there's no caulking from here to here. So that's important to have a good caulk job, and of course it needs to get clean now going across here. So any moisture that travels on the inside, that between the caulking and the outside, comes down. I don't want that rolling in. That's what that caulking would be for, or that back dam will be for. It's gonna be forced to go outside. So that's got to get fixed. This is another area that was forgotten right down here on the bottom. That's got to get done, and that sort of thing. And then of course areas like this, it's not done well enough. So I'll have to come back through here and caulk those and clean those up. Some other pickup work that I did, I added a 2x4 right here. It's broken up because the wires were done after, but there really wasn't enough room to screw sheetrock to, so that needs to have a backer here for sheetrock. Just like upstairs where that one was, it actually had one and the mechanical guys ripped it out. It's got to get put back in there for sheetrock to have something to nail to. So that's a great one to go around all the corners, double checking to make sure that there's adequate, at least a 1/2 inch, if not more, for when your sheetrock comes over. This is almost not enough, but it'll work. So this sheetrock has to go on first, and then that one. If this one went on, then this wouldn't have any backer for the sheetrock. So let's see if the sheetrockers do what they're supposed to do and that sort of thing. But that is something that they should be trained on to look at first. All right, put that one on, then that one, not, otherwise it wouldn't be right. So again, here on the island, I'm gonna have an island in here. Any penetrations going down, that's just as important as well. So like all this plumbing, it's all spray foam with closed cell spray foam, sealed up. That closed cell helps keep the insects out, the drafts from air going from the crawl space up or down, any strange smells, that sort of thing, keeps it where it's supposed to be. Same thing, all plumbing going down, mechanical. Here's one that got forgotten about, so it's one that's got to get plugged, sealed up, all best as possible. So make sure you're like I am now, going around looking at all these spots, double checking, because it's like I'm always finding more and more things, and eventually you'll catch it all and that sort of thing. But ideally you're catching it before sheetrock and before insulation is happening. Here's another area that I got to fix. So this plumbing was in the wrong spot originally, so they had to move it over into the wall, but it leaves me this hole right here. Originally they thought the wall was over here, so I'm going to end up taking a 2x4 like this, snaking it in here, and then screwing it from the top. Leaves me a good backer, and then I'm gonna have to cut a couple pieces of sheetrock, or not, excuse me, not sheetrock, flooring, subfloor, and put a cap there and do something with these as well. This area is gonna get another layer of sheathing over top of it so that they can put their flooring on top of that. But what that will eliminate is that air coming up and around and through. So I will plug that. most of the time they'll just let that sheathing go right over top of it. But it's not good enough for me. So there is going to be a wall mounted cabinet here. I'm going to cover that, but still, let's do it right. All right, the next thing, prior to insulation, prior to sheetrock, my walls got to be dry. So that got framed in the rain, so everything was wet. A couple weeks ago, or a couple days ago, I got power, brought in power to the house. I was able to finally able to turn on the furnace. It's an electric furnace, and start out that dry out phase. So the moisture in the plates, even though I had fans going for the last month and a half, just trying my best to dry it out, because where it really, that moisture holds up is right on the bottom plates where there's water underneath or between the sheathing and that bottom plate. So I got to get that dried out. So as you can see right in here, that was tested at 20% moisture. Over here, 24%. That's too high. They're saying 18%, and then you can put sheetrock. But for me, 18% just still seems high. Maybe that's fine, but it just doesn't seem good enough for me. 10, 12% better. 0 ideally would be even better, but you're gonna have some moisture. So what that means is not just relying on the furnace to dry it out. You need that air circulation. So I got fans going, and I'm bringing them around. You know, I'll focus that for a day, and I just keep moving them around either clockwise or counterclockwise, so I know, and trying to reduce that moisture, aiming those fans right at the location. Master wing over there, I have fans going on over there. Before the furnace was going, I had this heater right here. Electric is the driest heat. Since I didn't have enough power for electric, right here I got diesel or kerosene. That's one of those heaters. Don't use propane. Propane's a wet heat. It'll be throwing moisture in as you're trying to get that moisture out of the building. Or dehumidifiers. Dehumidifiers would be the best, but this is the route that I chose to do. So if I was in a bigger time crunch, I'd be forced to use dehumidifiers. So that heater does a great job. It's about 6 hours per 5 gallons, so it's a lot of diesel, but you can dial it up to a certain temperature and it'll run 2 days if you want it only at 50 degrees. 50 degrees, you need those fans going, moving that air, drying it out. So that's what's happening with the current phase. I got to get that moisture down so we can start on sheetrock and insulation and that sort of thing. So some more pickup work, just a constant battle, checking to see what that moisture level is, and if it's too high, reducing it so it doesn't promote mold. Mold needs moisture to grow. So another area that got forgotten for this pickup work. So I got some framing material over here. It's actually got a fan going on because it was all soaking wet. We've had lots and lots of rain out here in Oregon. So this year, this winter. And it's also been snowing. So it's been quite the task. But there's a closet that goes right here and it's missing a header for that top of that closet. So that's got to get done. So I'll be working on that. But I need my wood to be dry. If I sandwich a 2x4 that's wet against another 2x4, it takes a while for that to dry out in between. So drying it out first, or you know, this is wood that we had left over, so that's what I'm utilizing, or go buy some kiln dried wood that already has that moisture content down enough that you can put sheetrock right on it. Well, I'm out here on the outside. Some other pickup work that I need to get done right away is I'm going to be having gutters installed because it's wintertime, rain splashing on my siding, and it's actually not good for the hardy to be constantly getting splashed on because there's no gutters. When there's no gutters, it just hits the ground, splashes up. So I elected to have the gutters get installed. So what I need to do before those gutters get installed is this fascia board, or the 2x4 right there. I need to get that primed, the tails primed, that section primed, because once the gutters go on, then I'll never get another chance to at least get that primed. The other thing is where the downspout comes down is going to tie into my drain there that's covered up. Behind that downspout, it's harder than heck to get caulked there. So you can see I already started caulking 6 feet up where I could reach, but now it's time for ladder and get all that section there caulked so that it's not covered up by that downspout, and I can do a really good quality job without that in place. So that's what I'm working on out here today. It's middle of January. This morning is like 30 some degrees, so I gotta say the products that I'm using, because it is kind of cold, this Quad Max by OSI, I'm really amazed, and I really like this product. It's a little bit more than your average caulking that homeowner caulking at Home Depot or Lowe's or Jerry's or that sort of thing, but it's a good quality. And what I like about it is that it seems to really grab the material right away well. And tooling it, it's easy to tool. It doesn't skin over right away. So I can lay a pretty good size area, 6 feet or so, and then still come back and tool it. It's not using your finger. You don't use finger when you're caulking. The other thing for priming, this oil-based Z prime is what I'm using, super fast. And both of these products are made for low temperature, down to 0 degrees Fahrenheit. And so if I can get a coat at least on the fascia, get that primed, and I'm only going to focus the areas where the downspouts are and where the gutters are. The rest of the house I'll probably get in another month or two. So I'm not too concerned about that. It's just these areas I got to get right away because they're supposed to be installing gutters tomorrow. So right before I do the caulking on this joint right here, I'll take a tool like this, and these are all cut edges. They've been primed, but it produces like a little fray. So you're scraping that off. Otherwise your caulking job's not gonna be sticking quite as well in that section. You can kind of see it right up in here. You're trying to get all those little pieces off and out from in it, and then wiping that off once you're done. That way you can get a nice good caulk job. This right here, just kind of scraping it. All right, something else not to forget is handrail backing. It's that 2x4, 2x6 blocking that's in the wall of a stairwell, that sort of thing, so your handrail can actually screw to something. I'll show you on the plans. So right here on the set of plans, here's your handrail detail, and it says in this particular case it's a 2x4 backing. I mean, you can have a 2x6 or bigger, but it's 30 inches underside of blocking to stair tread. So it's the nose of the stair tread, which I'll show you. Measuring up 30 inches will be the bottom of it. So to the center is about 32 inches, and that's something to double check. So I went ahead and I double checked it here. So here's some blocking that the framers did, which is, you know, it's good that it's on the slope, but from the nose right here to 32 inches, 30 inches to the bottom, which that looks great. But for whatever reason, when you get up here, so that blue line is what it's following, and now I get to the center of it, it'd be right about here, just almost missing. So double checking, there's 32 inches from the nose. It's right at the top, so I need to add another piece, probably right here, because, you know, chances are the anchor will be up here, probably one in the middle somewhere, and then one at the bottom. But hard to say at this particular time. I might even see, here's the blue line, I might even consider putting one right here as well, just for extra insurance. Now on this side here, I just got through adding it, but I put this blocking here, one there, and those up there at the top, just to make sure that I had it. So that blue line right here would be about where that anchor would be. So I know I'm going to be good here, but if not checking, that would have got missed, and basically my handrail would be just screwing into sheetrock, which isn't right. So this looks a lot better. This side here's done. I'm gonna add 2 more pieces there and then move on to the next. All right, something else to do prior to sheetrock is this little detail right here. Getting it nice and clean and putting caulking all around that bottom plate. Well, here in the Pacific Northwest, most houses are built on a crawl space. So that crawl space, on top of that crawl space, in this case, has a sole plate. Then on top of that is this sheathing right here, and then that bottom plate is nailed on top of it. So there's a path that goes underneath the bottom plate and out to that sheathing that air can be coming in. So sheetrock and tape and that sort of thing usually stops about a 1/4 inch short or 1/2 inch short of that bottom plate up off of the subfloor here. So that's a direct spot where air can be getting in. Of course, air brings moisture, so we don't want that. So caulking it, but not just throwing it right over it. Make sure you clean it. So I went around and I vacuumed everything real good. And just before the insulators came, and I was actually surprised to see and happily that they caulked everything. So I planned on caulking everything, but they went ahead and did it for me. I did this section right here because I want to make sure it was done in front of the door, but all the rest of it, as you can see, has been caulked. So there's an area that it just takes, well, it's going to take a couple hours, but it can make a big overall difference in your energy efficiency, air leakage, and that sort of thing. All right, and probably the last thing as far as pickup work, it could just go on and on and on, but gonna be the last thing, is to see how straight your walls are doing. So right now, this particular spot, so I got a straight edge here, and you can see at certain spots it's touching the 2x4s. Over here I got a little bit of a gap right there. So you could do a few things. I'm going to slide this over to see a little bit further over this way. As I came over just a little bit, that gap got smaller, and it's small enough that I'm not going to worry about that. You could put a little piece of cardboard, dense cardboard over it to shim it out, or there's some more invasive things. Excuse me. More invasive things you could do is you could notch it about halfway on the 2x4s that are bowing outward, and then put a sister stud onto it and straightening that stud out. Well, this particular spot isn't so bad. You can check it diagonal, see what's going on, and the straighter the studs, straighter the wall is going to be. And what studs do when they dry out, you know, like nowadays, is that they like to bow and curl and cup and all twist and that sort of thing. So just going around and double checking to see how straight things are going to be. So I got a countertop that's going to go across here here in the kitchen, you know, and I could see right here, I got a nice big gap right there. Touching there. Touching there. So this one particular stud, I can add a little piece to it. So it's probably gonna have a big bow in it. I can add a little bit of shimming right in here, and that'll straighten that one out. So I'm gonna mark that one, and I'm gonna come back to it. So that'll be one particular stud. Everything else looked good there. Going around making sure there's no nails sticking out, otherwise it's going to slow the sheet rockers down and that sort of thing. So checking, I got cabinets going to go on here. Of course, cabinets can get shimmed, but straighter it is, the easier job everybody's going to have on, and that sort of thing. I got a little gap right there, and that's touching the one right next to it. So that'll be something I want to consider. That's a pretty good size gap right there. That particular one I might do something about. Now, your one sticking furthest out, which is this one here, they're all looking fairly good. So you got to just try and figure out which one is the one you want to move. So sadly, I got my sound insulation already in, so if I want to be doing anything, it's just kind of a little bit more of a pain in the butt. So it's just the process of how things are going. So, and keep on checking. As far as pickup work goes, that's about it. Hopefully it gives you some ideas of what to check and what to look for and that sort of thing, all before sheetrock happens. Once sheetrock is, it's just a big pain in the butt afterwards. There are always things that you can do and fix. It just might take more work, more time, and that sort of thing. So the more you do and catch before, the better off you're going to be. So like always, be safe out there, and I'll see you next time on The Home Build.